Oh my goodness, I'm sure you've all seen it. Blizzard has opened its doors to a series of exclusive interviews with Preach Gaming. Blizzard has changed, they cry. But have they really? Have Ian Hazakostas and the Warcraft team really woken up to their failures? Or is it all just more empty words and future disappointment? Well, let's get right into it with the good. Throughout the interviews, we've gotten a first-hand look into how Blizzard sees their game, and, more importantly, what they are doing to change it. First up was freedom. One giant change Blizzard is making in Dragonflight, and one we have seen already in the beta. Gone are the days of having to do attunement questlines to unlock zones, like in Argus, or having to level your reputations through world quests just to unlock the next phase of content.
All this is just there with a sense of freedom to explore it as you see fit. For some people, maybe you're going to focus on getting raid ready during the first couple of weeks, and you'll come back and check out the renowned tracks later, because there are mounts or dragon riding skins or other things you want to unlock. Or again, if you're someone who's really focused on professions, there are specific recipes. If you're a leatherworker, you're going to want to work on that centaur renown to get some of the leatherworking recipes from there. So it's all of the same philosophies are there. It's just we don't have that artifact power, that, soulbind renown, that thing that is just hitting everyone over the head with being completely mandatory regardless of your playstyle. And again, that gets back to, we don't want to force players into content that they don't inherently enjoy. We want to let you play the game the way you want to play the game.
Finally, we can once again explore the world at our own pace, and slow down a bit to enjoy the Dragon Isles with all its exotic beauty and juicy secrets. Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of players out there that find the Drakfir exotic and juicy. From what we've seen in Dragonflight, this ideology shift appears to be seeping into all parts of WoW. An MMO on rails no more. Going forward, WoW is focusing on exploration and letting the player loose on the world. Blizzard is taking a hands-off approach to their players and not forcing them into areas that they don't want to play in. Next up, we have spreading out the gear. Going forward, there will be a smaller power gap between low and high-end gear. Crafted items and those earned from world content will be higher item level and closer to the elite gear, giving players more routes to upgrade from sources other than raids and Mythic Plus.
We do want outdoor play and certainly professions to be able to push farther into that track than they ever have before. I think at times in the past it's felt like if you were a solo player, well, you kind of capped out at maybe you can get a couple of normal mode raid pieces, and otherwise you were like 30 eye levels behind the Mythic Raider. That's, I think, too large a gap, and something we'd like to close.
And that's a pretty good thing. Yes, craftsmen of Azeroth, our gear will no longer come from the raids of sweaty basement dwellers, but from our own Cheeto-covered hands, as we craft away in our mum's basement. Then we had focusing on evergreen content. Throughout the interviews, Blizzard talked at length about how they are moving away from borrowed power and into improving and adding to their old progression systems that have been around since vanilla. Systems like talents and professions are getting completely reworked in Dragonflight to make them relevant and meaningful once again. For years we've been begging for the old talents and old professions to make a return, and Blizzard is finally working on them, and thank God for that. Once more, you can carefully craft your talents to your playstyle, perfecting a build unique to yourself, at which point you'll probably copy a build from Icy Veins or Wowhead. Now with that out of the way, let's get into the part you clicked on the video for, the bad. Now before all of you get too excited, there's still a lot to talk about, and there is a lot that was unaddressed or ignored in these interviews. A handful of fixed issues, and a mountain of unaddressed ones. Major problems in the game weren't brought up at all during the interview, and have no sign of being worked on by Blizzard. Issues such as leveling, which used to be such a core part of the game, has slowly been whittled down since Legion. Gear staying meaningful from patch to patch, and not being outdated as soon soon as a new raid tier is released, as well as sharding and community interaction. These are all important issues that, unfortunately, were absent from these interviews. Lots of words, but not much action. The interviews are full of explanations for past choices, without giving concrete details of the path forward. Throughout the video, Preach and Ian discuss problems in the game without actually discussing how they're being solved. Now, this may be because Blizzard wants to play their cards close to their chest, which is reasonable. However, because of that, I remain a little unconvinced by what they say. Actions speak louder than words. Players have been burned quite a few times before. As an analogy, you could say that over the last decade, Blizzard has been a bit like that ex that you keep coming back to. You tell your buddies that they've changed and it's okay. Then after a few weeks, you remember why you broke up in the first place. Now, once again, the ex is back and saying it's different this time. I'm sure it will be. So what does this all mean? Well, for starters, Blizzard is not off the hook yet. The community remains extremely wary of, well, anything Blizzard does or says. It's going to take years of work just to build back the trust to where it was in Legion, let alone build it back to where it was in, I don't know, Kata or Wrath. That would be a monumental task. Though at the end of the video, Preach did mention that Blizzard is planning their path to redemption up to over a decade into the future. A decade? I might be dead by then. A new and open Blizzard. From this video, what we've seen is a new open approach to community interaction from Blizzard. Ever since the 90s, Blizzard has always preferred to stay tight-lipped and keep a distance from PR. Interviews have been short, with pre-discussed questions and topics, and generally uninsightful information. The community has been ecstatic to get personal interviews like these with WoW's lead-in faces. I mean, these commenters said it best. Just take a look. So here we have Frodini, I hope I'm saying that right. Great job interviewing. I really enjoyed the format, and it felt more genuine than just throwing out 10 to 15 pre-approved questions. I honestly have a good feeling about the future of this game. Smiley face. So here's DS Carno, and he says, "These are some real feeling interviews. They took a huge risk with this. I bet PR is sweating right now." Yeah, probably, mate, probably. And here we have Survival. Oh, I get it. This is one of the most important videos for WoW ever. To see devs talk as humans and people who love the game, not with corporate talk, but just simple talks with the like-minded. It makes them seem much more natural, and Preach and his team have done a fantastic job of showing this. Very insightful. Hopefully Blizzard will continue to have interviews like these that show the community what goes on behind the scenes, and helps everyone get a little more perspective, both on their side and ours. So what are your thoughts on the new era of Blizzard and WoW? Is it all gonna be a massive disappointment? Or are you hyped for Dragonflight? Let us know in the comments below.